It began with a smile. Not the kind shared between strangers on the street, or the polite curve of lips during small talk. It was a smile held a second too long, one that lingered in the air and stuck like dust on glass. It happened on a rainy Thursday evening in late October when Claire Reynolds met Eric Vallon at a law firm dinner she had no intention of attending. Her husband, Daniel, had insisted she go in his place. "Make an appearance," he said, barely looking up from his laptop. "You're better at that kind of thing anyway." Claire had smiled then too, more of a mask than a gesture, and slid into the black dress he liked her in, the one with a slit that stopped just short of scandal. She wore red lipstick, knowing he wouldn't notice. The dinner was dull, filled with men who laughed too loudly and women with hollow eyes clutching wine like a lifeline. But then came Eric, introduced by a mutual acquaintance who thought their shared interest in architecture would spark conversation. It did more than that. Eric was a partner at a small design firm, married, as Claire soon found out, to a woman named Juliet who ran a vintage clothing boutique downtown. But Eric's eyes lingered the way Claire's hadn't felt in years. He listened when she spoke about her abandoned dream of restoring old homes, laughed at her dry wit, and leaned in just a little too close. It was the first time in nearly a decade she felt seen. Their affair began that night. Not in a hotel, not in a car, not even physically, at first. It started with words. Late-night texts, excuses to meet for coffee, long conversations about nothing and everything, as Eric called it. Daniel noticed none of it. His attention was buried in spreadsheets and late-night calls with investors. They'd stopped kissing months ago. Stopped fighting too. Silence, Claire had learned, was more dangerous than rage. But Daniel was no fool. He watched. Waited. He had secrets of his own. Daniel had been meeting with someone too, someone far younger, hungrier, and reckless. Her name was Eva, a personal trainer at his gym with legs that didn't end and morals that never started. It began, as most mistakes do, with a joke. "Married?" she asked, adjusting his posture in the mirror. "Not happily," he replied. Their first time was in the gym sauna. The second, in Daniel's car. By the fifth time, she had a key to a downtown apartment he'd rented under a false name. So there they were, Claire and Daniel, two halves of a hollow marriage, both wrapped in the illusion of escape. Both lying. Both drowning quietly. But secrets have a weight. They pressed down like wet blankets in the night, suffocating slowly. The first thread began to unravel when Juliet found the texts. Eric had been sloppy, leaving his phone unattended on the kitchen counter while he showered. A message from Claire lit the screen. "Can't stop thinking about yesterday. Meet tomorrow. Same place." Juliet said nothing. She was methodical. Quiet. Dangerous in a way Eric never suspected. She followed him the next day. To the hotel on 9th and Bloom. Room 317. She sat in her car for 2 hours, fingers clenched so tightly around the steering wheel they turned white. Inside, Claire and Eric lay tangled in cotton sheets, whispering about a life that didn't exist. About places they'd run to. Futures they'd fake. They laughed like children, unaware of the storm outside. By week's end, Juliet had hired a private investigator. Not for Eric. For Claire. She wanted to know everything about the woman who had stolen her husband's affections. Her routine. Her marriage. Her weaknesses. It didn't take long. Claire's life was an open book once someone bothered to read the fine print. Meanwhile, Eva began to ask questions too. "Why are you still married?" She asked Daniel one night, sprawled across the bed in nothing but ambition. "If you love me, why hide me?" Daniel deflected. Lied. Said he was planning to leave Claire, just needed to sort out finances, the house, everything. But Eva wasn't patient. She didn't want to wait, and so the fuse was lit. One night, weeks later, Daniel came home to find Claire standing in the dark, holding his phone. She didn't scream. Didn't cry. She just held up a photo of him and Eva, his hand on Eva's thigh, lips inches from hers, time-stamped 2 days prior. "I know," Claire said simply. Daniel poured a drink. "What do you want to do about it?" "Nothing," she replied. "I have someone too." They sat in silence then, in that cold kitchen with its granite counters and empty chairs, the only sound the hum of the refrigerator and the quiet cracking of their shared lie. What neither of them knew was that Juliet had already met with Eva. Two women scorned, bound by fury and betrayal. They met at a bar under the pretense of coincidence, but Juliet had orchestrated the entire thing. She told Eva everything. Showed her photos, timelines, messages. Planted seeds of rage in fertile soil. "He's using you," Juliet whispered. "He'll never leave her." Eva, emotional and impulsive, believed every word. Juliet smiled. That weekend, Eric invited Claire to a cabin in the woods, one of those secret hideaways meant for affairs and murders. It rained the entire drive, the kind of relentless gray that seeps into bones. They drank wine by the fire. Made love. Whispered promises. Neither knew they were being followed. Juliet had tracked the reservation. Eva had come too, convinced by Juliet that this was the only way to make Daniel choose. What happened next was blurred by adrenaline and poor judgment. Claire woke in the middle of the night to the sound of shattering glass. Eric was gone from the bed. She grabbed her phone, no signal. Panic bloomed. Downstairs, she found Juliet and Eva, faces twisted in anger and mascara. Eric lay on the floor, a smear of blood near his temple. "He's alive," Juliet muttered, holding a fireplace poker. "What are you doing?" Claire screamed. "You ruined everything," Eva spat. "Both of you." Claire backed away, heart pounding. Then came the gun. It wasn't meant to be real. It was meant to scare. But Juliet had brought it anyway, loaded, safety off. In the chaos, Claire lunged. A struggle. Screams, a shot rang out, silence. Daniel arrived minutes later, having followed Eva's GPS. He found the cabin door ajar, the fire smoldering, and his wife dead on the floor, blood pooling beneath her, a look of shock frozen in her wide green eyes. Eva sat in a corner, shaking. Juliet was gone. Police arrived before dawn. Eric survived, barely. Suffered memory loss, trauma, nerve damage. Eva was arrested, charged with manslaughter. She claimed it was self-defense. The trial made headlines. Daniel sold the house on Sycamore Hill. Left the state. No one's heard from him since. Juliet was never found. Some say she changed her name and moved to Europe. Others say she returned to her boutique like nothing happened. Eric disappeared into quiet obscurity, his once brilliant career burned to ash. As for Claire, her funeral was small. Few knew the whole story. Fewer cared, but the house on Sycamore Hill still stands, empty, quiet, watching, waiting, because love, when twisted, doesn't die quietly, it screams. Shoots. Bleeds, and sometimes, it haunts.